John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome back to Center Court. We've been live streaming this morning. Matt Simons, my partner in crime, has had a couple of really great panels yesterday. We had really great sessions. You can see them on our Facebook page. We will reproduce them, edit them. They will appear on YouTube soon, as well as our own site. We're live streaming from our homepage, but also from YouTube. Facebook is having its problems these days, and they're not only caused by a Harvard MBA testifying in Washington. So we will get our produced videos up on Facebook by the end of the week, however, so you can see them there. Meantime, we are live streaming from 4 different places. I am in California at the Poets and Quants headquarters, and we have these wonderful, great-looking people, these brilliant people who are in Berlin, Barcelona, and Madrid, 3 of the best European capitals, great cities in the world. And we are going to talk about MBA careers, which I know everybody is interested in. The MBA is a huge investment in time and energy and in money. And everyone thinks about ROI, and in many cases, that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let me introduce you to our 3 guests, and I can't wait to talk to them. From ESMT Business School in Barcelona, we have Benjamin Borngraber, who is relatively new to the school, even though he's an MBA from ESMT. And he has had a corporate career in banking and technology before joining the company in this careers function a little over a year ago. From IE Business School in Madrid, where I am looking forward to going at the end of next week. I'll be hopping on a plane with my wife to come and watch the inauguration of the new campus in Madrid at IE. We have Teresa Pajares. I hope I didn't screw that up. Teresa is head of careers for the International MBA program. And then from ESMT Berlin, a small and very intimate and relatively young MBA program, we have Marcel Carlos, who is Director of Career Services. Welcome, everybody. So let's start with what everyone wants to know. How did your latest graduating classes fare in the marketplace? Teresa, let's start with you.
Okay, thank you so much, John, for the introduction. Appreciate it. Very happy to be here. And I'd be happy to answer any questions from the audience. As you have very well said, ROI is a big concern for our students. So we keep that in mind first process, and then through the talent and career support that we provide to our students. And I'm glad to say that our MBAs have fared quite well in the past couple of years. Pandemic or no pandemic, we had a little bit of panic at first, of course, thinking the world during and post-COVID was going to be much harder in terms of the workforce. But fortunately, I think our students are, have fantastic profiles, and I think we're able to prepare them quite well for the challenges.
Yeah, because I know that in the US market, at least, demand for MBAs remained very strong through the pandemic. Many companies are having labor shortages, both at lower levels and professional levels, and MBAs find themselves in very big demand. Benjamin, how did you see that with your MBA graduates?
Sure. So as of graduation, which was back in May, we had the cohort was 73% had full-time offers by that time. And as of September, we were up to 90%. So we're nearly at 100%. The last few, of course, being more targeted focus, what they're looking for and more specific. So they'll probably be finishing out a couple of months and then they'll have full-time. The breakdown is generally 38% consulting, finance is on very well as well, 22%, tech is following up at 16%, and then we finish with healthcare and FMCGs running out the general rest. So all in all, numbers are pretty much in line with what we were expecting. Of course, as Teresa alluded to, a little bit of a scare, but then I think companies have proven to be very, very aggressive again in the rebound.
Yeah, I know that in many cases, internships, which often lead to full-time job offers, were mostly remote. So MBAs didn't get that feel, the ability to touch, feel, and really experience the inside of a culture or a company. So that probably didn't help erase any of the anxiety about the job search. And I just want to underline something that you pointed out, that, you know, the remaining 10% of the class that is yet to accept an offer are people who are looking for one-off opportunities. And this is often the case, you know, so when you look at the employment reports of a given school and you look at what percent had offers at graduation and 3 months later, which are the two marks at which this is measured, oftentimes, you know, the schools that pour a lot of people into mainstream MBA jobs, meaning the big companies that recruit MBAs by the boatload, have great stats. And then the MBAs who really want a special opportunity in a startup, in an early stage environment, or in a company that's not recruiting on a regular basis a lot of MBAs, those are independent job searches that tend to take a little more time, which is understandable. Marcel, how did it look at in Berlin with your graduates?
ESMT has always been different. Well, you know, Berlin is a startup mecca, right? That's one thing. And we have many people ending up in a more, or in a company that's basically not a startup anymore, or are startups. What we noticed this year, because what we do at ESMT is that we also offer 6 months, until 6 months after graduation, a responsible leadership fellow, which means that you have an opportunity to work individual for, let's call it a social enterprise. And we never had so many people taking that offer as the last graduating class. I don't know exactly. First of all, it's a super experience because, you know, that's a sort of a once in a lifetime opportunity to work for an NGO or for a company helping people in need. But we had a so-called world record of people taking that opportunity. So that means that they looked for jobs later in the year. Our cycle is basically January to January. So, you know, and then people started looking for jobs in November. If you look at our employment, it's always been super diverse and very mixed, and that it's still the case. And also, yeah, if I look at the current class now, it looks super promising. Actually, I would call the market a little bit nervous. You know, you have to look for it, but companies are definitely recruiting and hiring, and it's definitely happening. But you also need a little bit maybe of patience and luck, I would say. But it's definitely there. Yeah.
So your post-graduation program in social enterprise is truly unique. I don't know of any other business school in the world that tells its graduates, hey, don't go to those big lucrative 6-figure jobs at McKinsey, Bain, BCG, JP Morgan, Google, or whatever. Instead, take 6 months off and go and work for peanuts at a nonprofit. But I wonder what percentage of the class actually took that up. I mean, rough idea at least.
Oh, it was in the last graduating class, it was almost 15%.
Okay,
which is a lot. Yeah, which is a lot.
That's a
but
really
it's also, you know, it's sponsored. I mean, you don't earn the world, but you get some money for it. But it's so, I would almost say satisfying for those people who did that. You know, it's even if our program is 1 year, people take the time. What I said, it's an opportunity that probably never comes back. You know, when do you do this again? When do you take 6 months off to work for something with a social impact? Probably never. So yeah, so there is a little pay. The travel is paid if appropriate in normal days. So people would really go to the countries where they do their social impact work, which was often in Africa or you know, in Latin America or Middle America.
Right, that's a great program, and you sound very optimistic about your expectations for this coming year in MBA employment. What's your optimism based on?
Well, no, first of all, I mean, on the personal side, we opened registrations for our annual career fair, which always takes place at the end of January. I think we are one of the schools in Europe, I mean, the first happening event in the new year. and the reservations are heavily coming in. So that is a good sign. I must, to be honest, it's a career fair for all our students, not only for the MBAs, but it's also for the Master in Management students. But
Right.
that is a good sign. And if you see the number of jobs we publish and open, not only in Berlin, but in Germany and also in the rest of the world, I base my optimism definitely on that. Yeah.
Well, that's good evidence of a strong coming year. Teresa, are you seeing evidence of a good year for the MBA hiring market coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree. And I'd like to comment on the trend that Marcel was pointing out. The program that you have seems to be very interesting, Marcel. We do it a little differently. We've been doing this for a while now. In your MBA, after the core period, you have labs. You have the tech lab. You get the experience of working for at least 2 technological companies. One of our students, actually a group of our students was coming up with an Alexa add-in for Amazon for them to shop with the Alexa tool. Business Impact Lab to get to work as a consultant in the company. You get the Startup Lab, which is our flagship, right? But we also get our Social Impact Lab. The Social Impact Lab allows you to experience social impact consulting. So there's no peanuts there. It's actually very good pay. We target in the social enterprises and the social impact international relations sort of career path. We specialize in that. That's one of the 7 areas of the sector specific support that we provide. And I must say, we are pointing students in the direction of a meaningful career that pays well, specifically leaning towards impact consulting, impact investment, and also the 4th sector, which it's the most upcoming social enterprise lately. You know, companies like EcoAlf, maybe that's a brand that's familiar to you guys. It's from Spain. Tom's, maybe for those of us listening in from the United States, or 4th generation. Remember, I bought that when I was studying in New York at NYU. Those social enterprises, they are for-profit. The hiring cycle is much faster. There's not as much as paper pushing, which is perceived to be one of the drawbacks of international organizations. And so we are, happily seeing an increase, dramatic increase actually, in students coming over to us looking for that sort of support, right? A meaningful career, transitioning from brands such as Coca-Cola because they want to work, for a good cause.
And you are seeing good demand right now for your MBA talent in terms of internship opportunities, full-time job offers, visits, recruiting visits, job postings, things like that?
Absolutely. We work with companies such as Dahlberg Consulting. We also have representatives from the Big Four in all the new divisions that they're creating towards more sustainable and more impactful practices. And we see that a lot of them are recruiting. The 4th sector as well, like I said, these consumer companies and these finance companies have high demand for MBAs.
Benjamin, do you see that? Do you see that changing? A lot of people who are watching this are either incoming students about to income, they are in the pipeline, or they're about to get in the pipeline. So if you look 2 or 3 years out, and I know you don't have a crystal ball in front of you.
I wish I did.
but what is it about the enduring value of the MBA and why it's a good credential? And I know that in Europe it's a little bit different than it is in the US. But can you speak to the enduring value of a degree and what you think the market will look like for people who are just considering the degree now or are in the early stage of the pipeline?
So for those who are currently undertaking an MBA, I would say don't be nervous. The market is improving and there's a lot of demand for talent. I just had a conversation with our key account managers for consulting. So MBBs, they're looking to hire, actually avenge hiring from last year where they maybe put a stop on. Now they're actually coming back with a vengeance because they have so many projects. From tech, which is what I'm covering, e-commerce is on a huge hiring speed. A fundamental change in human purchasing behavior has occurred during pandemic. People are a lot more comfortable buying online. So you're seeing these shifts across various industries that the pandemic has fueled. It's taken time, but we're entering into a new era of going about daily lives. And so that's going to have a huge impact on job seekers going into the next couple of years. From various sectors that have become very attractive, I would say the horizontal tech sector. So you're talking about your mobility companies, your food companies, your fintechs, your health tech. these are all on the rise. We're seeing the demand from companies, startups, and mature companies. We're also seeing the rise from students demanding that. So to Teresa's point and Marcel's, we are seeing more students wanting to have an impact. And it's just a natural transition. When I did my MBA 4 years ago, it was a smaller part of the student cohort that was looking into it. And now every single person is saying, what more can I do? What impact can I have? Now, when it comes to the benefits of an MBA, personally speaking, on my behalf, it really depends on the programs you're doing. Are you taking a 1-year program or are you taking a 2-year program? What do you want out of an MBA? It is a very personal choice. A lot of people see it as it's my progression professionally. Yes, it is without a doubt, but it is also your time to do a personal progression as well. It is an environment that allows you to make mistakes and feel comfortable making mistakes and to grow and to also find out what you really want as the next stage of your life. So an MBA will set you up for consulting companies. It will set you up for investment banking and will set you up for tech, healthcare, FMCGs. But it will also allow you to explore startups. If that is something you're not used to, it's an environment you have no experience with, doing a summer internship with a startup will give you that exposure and see if you're relevant is something you really want to pursue. If not, you can go back going the structured corporate path that a lot of us has done. So yes, from a value of an MBA, it has been very, very meaningful on my behalf, and I see it every day talking to people. Just now, a lot of them are realizing how strenuous the journey is going to be because it is not easy, but it's worth every penny of it.
Benjamin, tell us a little bit about your graduates and what they're really looking for. I mean, you mentioned earlier the percentage going to consulting, banking, technology. Technology apparently is down. You mentioned in healthcare is going up. But can you put a little more detail on that? What are people really looking for?
So you have your normal batch of MBA students who come in every September, very, very eager to pursue the consulting path. And then once they're on the path, they start realizing there are other realms available. Investment banking is another path similar where you have your structured programs. So it's very much, you know exactly what to learn, what to prep for when you have the interviews. It's a very structured process from the very beginning of the MBA until your interview days. You come into tech, it's a little bit different. It's very unstructured. It's very much you're trying to find out what is right for you and which companies you want to pursue. Students have, over the last decade, I would say, shifted from consulting and investment banking more and more into tech, and also from industries more into tech. Tech has become proliferant in everyday life. The moment you wake up, the first thing you do is check your phone. The moment you're in the bathroom, what you do, you check your phone. The moment you go to bed, you check your phone. It's just so proliferant everywhere what we do. So more and more people want to have roles in tech, but it's also understanding what roles are relevant for you from a personality perspective and skill perspective. So thinking about that is really, really important. And so what I tell my students when they come to me is really understand what's your passion within tech, what skills do you have, and not only where do you want to be right after the MBA, but also 5 years down the road, because maybe you're taking a stepping stone to get to your final destination.
Right, exactly. Marcel, what trends are you seeing among the preferences of your students? Clearly, we mentioned already here that people want to have an immediate impact of one kind or another. So even if they pursue a job in a corporation, they may want a job in the environment, sustainability, social responsibility, diversity. But what are you seeing among your students?
Well, no, I mean, the trend is definitely there. I've been in the business for quite some time. So you also see, you know, new generation. I mean, oh, that sounds so old. No, but you see new people coming in because I also work closely with mastery in management students, right? And those they are, let's say, 6-8 years younger than MBA students. But you see the mindset changing. You see that really coming in when people say, you know, really would like to have that impact. But take, for example, social responsibility. Many companies, they adopted whatever you call it. But a couple of years ago, the number of jobs in that area were super limited, right? It was mostly picked up internally and companies said we should do something about it, but what do we do? So that is definitely a trend which will grow. But it also might take a while, right? Before you settle in yourself really into this in this area, because it doesn't happen overnight. that you end up maybe straight away in a strategic job where you're going to influence the life of I don't know how many people. But definitely the education part, and that's why I also think that the MBA will stay forever in what kind of form it will be. The content will change, the accents might change, but you know, we will always be in need of well-educated people who are connecting to the market of today. And that is, I have a feeling that is happening at the moment as quickly as ever. We took we are in a spurt running into that. I'm not even sure if I answered answer your question, but yeah. So I see definitely. It's if I look at ESMT, let's speak for my school. We were never so strong in people going into investment banking or so. I mean, we are in Berlin. The financial center is in Frankfurt, in Germany, and in the earlier days, you needed to speak fluent German if you wanted to work there in that area. That's also changing. You know, even the banks are now knocking on our door to recruit talent, not necessarily having the local language skills. It's all happening. And in the earlier days, it didn't happen so much. We do have people going into consulting, but I would say at ESMT the majority is technology at the moment, and e-commerce. That's a heavy part of our employment statistics.
Teresa, what are the more popular areas that your MBAs pursue?
It's very interesting to hear other schools' perspectives, I must say. It's very refreshing because, right, so in terms of our trends, sure, tech is definitely growing. The appetite for MBA graduates in the market, as we've seen, is astonishing, because I have heard a lot of rumors, right? That the MBA is no longer valid, that it's no longer the same thing, or it doesn't give you the return on investment that it used to give. I think the concept of the MBA has changed radically. That's why we pursue a diversified approach, right? So of course, we're very happy to take very good care of all of those students that are going into the MBBs, into the investment banking. We do have a percentage of students that do that, but we also have so many others that are pursuing different approaches. And just like Benjamin was saying, the ability or the possibility to test and try different things during those 11 months that the MBA lasts. So there's been a dip in industrial sector recruitment and hiring for sure because of the pandemic. Big players in Europe have experienced financial instability and market contraction. And so that has not grown as much. However, consumer is a impressive. I work with a lot of consumer companies. Pharma companies, as we all know, have been growing. They're on the rise right now. Tech, I feel, is ever growing, especially in the ecosystem environment, of course. E-commerce, fintech, you name it, even health tech or ed tech. So there's a lot of appetite for that. The MBAs nowadays, what they can offer the market and what the market wants from them is that sense of ownership of the projects, that sense of, the ability for them to impact the business, no matter big or small company. And that's why I believe, tech is a very natural career path for them after the MBA. But at the end of the day, what companies want is a sense of ownership. A lot of our students come to IE to get a more balanced profile because they may be coming from big corporations, and the market no longer favors that anymore, right? They want to have an entrepreneurial experience or a startup, or an internship in a startup, or a 6-month stint in a European startup in order to keep growing in their careers. Again, as a stepping stone, or some of them sit there indefinitely, right? They found their sector of choice. So there's a lot you can offer as an MBA, for sure.
What do the employers expect from your graduates, Teresa? I mean, what do you hear from them? Why do they hire them? What are they really looking for?
That sense of ownership and impact on the business, absolutely. They're looking for more and more what I hear in the Global MBA CSCA conference, which you guys are familiar with, as some of you more than others. I believe I've heard the expression of, we're looking for the true candidate very often. They are.
What does that mean?
You're right. It does sound like fairies and unicorns. What I try to translate to my students is what they're looking for is, people that have a purpose. Candidates, at the end of the day, people that have the willingness and ability to come on board in your company and really make that difference.
I always think that life comes down to one thing: getting stuff done. And I think, with my own employees, all I want is getting stuff done. No drama, get it done as well as you can, and then move on and get more stuff done. Benjamin, is that what employers are looking for?
I mean, when it comes to the consistent message we've heard from employers, from ESSA candidates in general, it's what they really appreciate is the impact that the students have immediately from day one. And it's just the sense of the values we instill on our students of really looking at business from a P&L, but also a humanistic approach to doing business. So business is not just a P&L, it also has a human aspect to it. And that companies truly do value, and the sense of leadership. So a lot of programs are looking, or companies are looking for MBA programs for leadership. You're going to come into a leadership program, you're going to be in an accelerated path. Others, startups, they're looking for persons to have an impact immediately. You're a sense of owner of a product manager. You're the PMM, so product marketing manager, where you have responsibilities from day one. So for a lot of schools, what they really deliver is leadership for the next level. And companies are saying that they want that. And I would say more and more companies are realizing at an earlier stage the impact an MBA can have. So they're definitely having, I would say, as Teresa mentioned, there's been a small pivot, more and more tech companies. And it really boils down when it's specifically for tech, how committed and dedicated are you? That's what I want to see, to the profession and to the company.
And what's interesting to me, people, you're not answering saying they're looking for accounting. They're looking for marketing skills, strategy, operation. No, they're looking for people who can be leaders of others and help groups of people achieve things that they would never be able to do on their own.
Completely agree. Completely agree on that.
That's interesting.
Marcel, what skill sets does your MBA program teach MBAs to allow them these fast starts in these new jobs?
I was afraid for this question, of course, so I have the list in front of me. No, but it's also, to come back to, it's also something which you, I wanted to say you cannot fake it. That passion or that commitment or that the willingness to have that impact or to build something up in an organization, and we see it happening in front of our nose. And that is, we teach on responsible leadership, but also ethical leadership, which becomes maybe more and more important. Leadership under pressure, organizational behavior, getting the knowledge on building high performance teams. It's almost all. Yeah, it sounds like maybe the soft skills come first before the technical skills, but we have a lot of attention and accents on those topics at ESMT.
Yeah, true. And for years, corporate recruiters have always emphasized that they are looking for those soft skills. And when you ask a company to comment about MBAs and whatever deficiencies they may have, they always talk about the soft skills. And business schools have devoted unbelievable resources to developing soft skills in the last quarter of a century. I can't imagine that any business school could do anything more to develop this notion that you need to collaborate with others and work well with teams and respect and value the different perspectives of the different people in your organization, and how to lead and how to actually firmly give feedback without offending a person. All these things are basics taught in business school that are crucial to one's success, in whether you're in a corporate environment, a nonprofit environment, a startup environment. And I wonder, Teresa, can you comment on how your school teaches these soft skills? What are you doing to your students to make them come out able to not only contribute, but to contribute in a way that companies expect today.
Exactly. So one thing is how the MBA has evolved and how the market has evolved. We need to be responding to those challenges. Absolutely. Like you said, how many resources have been spent in soft skills? One of the trends that I'd like to highlight here is the use of biometrics as a recruitment method for the biggest, financial companies in the world, right? Biometrics are, they seem like a very silly game, by the way. I don't know, are you guys familiar with it? With biometrics?
Yes.
Yeah? So they seem like a silly game, right? But in reality, what they're trying to ascertain is whether you have, first and foremost, leadership of self. Because leading others is, at the end of the day, if you go through the motions, sure, you can order people around, no problem. But it starts with leadership of self, that self-awareness. We have integrated coaching within the program. We have integrated design thinking methodology in terms of careers, in terms of, self-exploration methods. So they're able to identify first and foremost what's going on within themselves, right? And then they can move on and do that work with others. So a high-performing team is a team that can work together well, is a team that can, has set metrics. All the quanta they're being taught in their core period, of course, is very useful to set those KPIs. But at the end of the day, it's the soft skills, the intangibles that really make the team to, high-performing, as expected from the company's perspective. So we be very flexible and integrate things constantly, right? We do have room for us to adapt, and there's certain subjects that we can move around every year to, to target this demand that we see in the market.
Yeah, you mentioned the word coaching, and this has become a key portion of MBA program, every MBA program. And it really is all about personal development. And all the things that were on your checklist just now all really fall under that rubric of personal development, as opposed to business basics in the disciplines that we automatically assume a business education to be all about. So Benjamin, I wonder if you can give us some insight as to how the coaches work with your MBA students to basically help develop who they are, because this is a transformational program that truly should change your mindset and your ability to affect others.
Without a doubt. I mean, I think one of the key benefits of ES's program is 2 years. So it's actually an extended period of time. So during the first year, everybody has the same courses. It's a core curriculum. And amongst that, you have leadership courses and communication courses. And we just finished, the first years just finished their boot camp. And during the boot camp, they had communications and they had coaching classes. And these are really skills that we're teaching them from today, which they'll use for the rest of their lives. And it's about learning how do you, if you're Japanese, communicate with an Argentinian. If you're an American, how do you communicate with a Chinese? If you're Spanish, and how do you communicate with a Catalan? And these are all things that you have to understand. They're cultural sensitivities. People interrupting others in Latin America is very common. Whilst in East Asia, it's a sign of disrespect. So it's understanding how you do all of this. I think one of the key things what we do, and I think a lot of MBA schools does it as well. My batch, my year, I was in a group of 9 during my whole first year. And we were from Japan, India, Lebanon, Italy, Spain, myself being half Danish, half German, an Argentinian, a Colombian, and American. You mix everybody together, age group from 27 to 34, and diverse backgrounds from engineering, consulting, banking, dentist, to engineering, and you're gonna create issues and problems. And it's how you go through those together as a team. You learn leadership skills like that. You learn how to communicate better. Of course, the school also creates an environment where you get the tools given to you. And we also then have, from a CDC perspective, external coaches also coming in to give you a third perspective on where do you want to go in your life as well. And I think one of the key things, and I think a lot of MBA schools are adopting this as well, the MBA is not easy. So we do also have psychologists available for students who require that, because it gives them an additional outlet where they can also review their personal stuff as well as professional environments.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of hand-holding. There's a lot of guidance. There's a lot of assistance on the journey through the program.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Marcel, could you comment a little bit about the career curriculum? Because, as Benjamin was talking, what I'm hearing in that conversation is that there is, in fact, a curriculum in and of itself to develop one's career.
Yeah.
And I wonder how you handle that at ESMT Berlin.
Yeah. How do we handle that? Well, it starts basically at day one. No, we have next to the academic curriculum a program which is totally run by us. And there are a couple of fixed elements which we call it teaching. We stand in front of the class and we teach. We learn the students, for example, how do you network in Germany? It's maybe different than in any other part of the world. Germany is a very networking-based society. But also much simpler things. How do you write a resume? How do you write a cover letter? How do you write a nice story to someone? How do you develop your own story? How do you define your strengths? How do you basically find out in which direction you would like to go after the MBA? Because I would say the majority of students, our students, they end up in a job for a company they might not have heard even before they joined our MBA. So we definitely have fixed hours in that academic program. I would say after the summer break, it becomes more focusing on company events where companies come on campus to interact with our students. But we have mock interview sessions, we have case interview sessions, we have external people coming in to teach about storytelling and networking. But we also at ESMT, we work with external certified career coaches, and we offer each and every single student a coach, which they can basically choose, because it's important that it clicks between the coachee and the coach itself. And we offer a standard 5 90-minute session throughout the academic year between coach and the student. And it builds up. It's mostly also the timing is connected to our activities, so they can bring results from tests, for example, into those coaching sessions. And in the end, it becomes a bit more flexible, when they would like to have their coaching sessions. But it is also, I heard it today, this morning, there was a graduate from last year coming in who told me that, she was still in touch with her coach. She was still asking for advice or having a couple of sessions, and well, the official session were over. So also the coaches are super, involved in that work. And that is, that's how we basically do it. And at ESMT, since the cohort is relatively small, we know everyone by name. Yes. And we also have an open door policy, and we also do my team, we have a solid super interaction with each individual, which is sometimes super time consuming, but also always very refreshing and rewarding, if you can help someone a little bit in the right direction. So that's
a lot of one-on-one counseling from certified coaches to help people on their journey. I wonder if we can do a little bit of storytelling. Now, I know each of you may not be a certified coach, or you might be, I don't know. But I do know that students would come to you with a specific challenge in their career, and I'm sure that you counsel them. Can you tell us a story of an MBA who, in the past year or two, came into your office and said, "Here is my challenge, help me with it"? Teresa?
I'm having a hard time choosing. I have so many students.
Yes.
Let me
lined up outside your office door.
Let me just start by saying, okay, so we do have coaching within the program. Yes. However, coaching in the program is for indeed, self-growth. But for career growth, we have career advisors. I'm one of them myself. I'm not a certified coach. I do have coaching methodology knowledge, and I will apply that if I need to. But at the end of the day, I need to play good cop and bad cop. I need to let them know that we need to work on two things. Okay, your aspirational goals. My students, this is like a standard, a running joke that we have in the department, right? Students that come from operations in South Africa and absolutely would like to be head of strategy in Google Switzerland. Radical career change. We see that every day, and it is refreshing and fascinating. So we totally support students for that goal, maybe on outlining a career strategy that will take you there at some point, right? To get you on the right path, because it's not often possible, especially if you're, if you're expecting that return of investment. Radical career change doesn't sit very well with that, with that return. So the aspirational career goals. And on the other hand, we tell them, listen, if I were to be the recruiter, let me put on my recruiter glasses and let me lend them to you so you see. Would you be first in line to be called for a strategy position in Google? If you were the strategy director and had to hire a VP for strategy, would you be calling yourself? And then they think, oh, okay, maybe not. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what we can do. And let's see, actually, if you were a recruiter, what would you hire yourself for? In the market, especially if you're targeting the Spanish market, which is a little bit more traditional. The tech sector is more open to different profiles. US is fascinating to many of my students. However, the work permit is an issue, of course. So we try to understand, give them, clues as to which markets would be more open for that career change that they're looking for, and try to secure opportunities, job offers before the program ends. So they never have that sense of panic, right? That the MBA is ending and I don't have anything to hold on to. So that would be a typical conversation that I would have with my students, right? So let's look at your aspirations, and then let's look at what you can actually do. The doing of the thing, creating professional job opportunities for yourself and offers that you are willing to take.
Right. Benjamin, tell us a story.
Sure. So, very much like Teresa, we actually have key account managers that are also career counselors. So we have been in the industry and then we've come back. And I think what's unique to, ESSE only, is every single one of us is actually an MBA from ESSE. So all of us can really, truly empathize with the students and know exactly what it is they're going through, because we've been in their shoes, me, just recently. So, that's really one of the unique aspects. So one of the stories, there are several, but one that really sticks out was people coming back, and it's just generalized, people coming back from their summer internships and realizing, I don't want to go into that anymore. It was my dream pre-MBA. I got the internship, they come back, and then it's like, I don't want that, now what? And then it's like, okay, don't worry, we have one full year. Luckily, it's a 2-year program, so we have another year to work towards. And what it goes down to is what we call your North Star. Get that guiding principle. What is it? Is it the region that's driving you? Is it the sector? Is it the role? Is it the salary? Is it your partner? Or is it your personality? What are your key aspects that's focusing you towards where you want to go post-MBA? If you suddenly have to change everything, so you went into consulting and you realized 9 to 2 in the morning, it's not for you, and you want to go into tech, that's fine. But then understand how we can leverage that. And a lot of students have come back from a large e-commerce company as well, saying, it's great, but it's not for me. It's too structured. And I want to actually pivot more into a startup, and that's fine. How do we go about it? And it's really just sitting down with them, as Teresa said, talking about the process, but also what would the recruiter look for from you? And one of the students fundamentally changed his whole perspective, and it's like, okay, I'm going into startup now. And it's a journey to experience, because now he's discovering all the startups that are available to him, like what he's passionate about, and he can see where he can use his old skills and now leveraging them as well. Yeah. So it's exciting to see where he will progress in the next year.
Yeah, as I listen to all this, I'm reminded of how lucky people are to have these incredible resources at their disposal. The guidance, the advice, the help of experienced people who really are passionate about what an MBA can do. And we didn't even talk about the alumni network, which incidentally is incredibly supportive and crucial to one's ability to network, not only immediately after your MBA or during your MBA journey, but well after you graduate the school. Let's do one last question, and we'll already be out of time. Marcel, if there is one thing you wish an incoming MBA student at ESMT Berlin knew before they got there, what would it be?
What they knew before they got there.
Yeah, in other words, they don't know it yet, but you wish they knew it as soon as they step foot on your campus.
No. No, some people, they really sometimes underestimate the value of the family you join, right? If it's the ESE family or IE or ESMT, the power of, I always start shouting, the power of those people is so crucial and so important. There is so much knowledge, but it's often, yeah, that's maybe what I would like them to know, because sometimes you have to explain how do you approach people, and it listens sometimes very narrow. And of course you have alumni, if there is one alumnus working at one of the favorite companies and not 10, you know, this person gets, I don't know how many requests, but it you know, but you really have to know how to approach people with respect, with patience, and also, you know, yeah, to get them also a little bit on your side, even with alumni, I would say, because that listen sometimes very narrow. And if you know that, and if you know how to play that, then you know the world is yours.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Teresa, what do you wish your students knew?
I'm having a hard time thinking about an answer for that, John, to be perfectly honest, because I think
I'll tell you what, you wish they understood how important you are to their journey.
I was going to say, yeah, so academically speaking, I'm not so sure, but yeah, from Talent and Careers, absolutely. But I think since we started doing a pre-program 2 months from the beginning of the actual program, I think they know. I think we scare them in July before they come in September, and in November before they come in January. So we're getting closer to that goal of letting them know.
Scaring people is a good idea. Benjamin, what do you wish your incoming MBAs knew about the career process before they got there?
I mean, for me, it's actually just giving them perspective. I think Marcel really highlighted it. One, treat people the way you want to be treated. So when you're writing an email, always think about how you would want to receive the email. That's the first thing. Second, your network. So at ESE, as I mentioned, you have your group in the first year. So that's your initial first network. Then it's your sector, or your sector, we call them segments within the cohort. So your first year. So for me, it was 9 people in my team. Then my sector, which was 72 people. Then the year, which was 360. And then the second years, that's another 360. And when you become a second year, the first years become another group. So by the time you leave ESE, you have 1,000 people that you could have networked with. And that is just the beginning, because then you can go out to the alumni as well. And don't ever feel scared of networking. And there are a lot of introverts who do an MBA and have this fear. Don't. The worst response you'll ever get is a no. If you don't send an email, you have an immediate no. So send an email, send a message, take up the phone. That's the worst that could ever happen, is a simple no. So just overcome that.
What a great pleasure to speak with all of you today. I think we had a great session. I really want to thank you for your time and your perspectives. I'm sure that they were enjoyed by many people and will be in the future as people access this video on demand. Benjamin, a pleasure. Teresa, how lovely. Really enjoyed your thoughts. And Marcel, I love your foreboding background and your thoughts.
Okay, I keep it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely keep it. All right. Hey, thank you, everybody. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. We're continuing our Center Court webinars. Stay tuned, and thank you all.